big ball. Going for the big shot, and he hits it.
That's batted into the air, intercepted, and the Bears are going to win it.
The Bears announced their rookie numbers. The new Pope, I should say, is from Chicago. You can't record a episode of the Halas beat without mentioning that. And then there's a major change in the mindset coming to Halas Hall with rookie minicamp happening tomorrow. Welcome into the Halas beat. Usayd, Koshul, and Nick Whalen here. You can check us out on Twitter at Halas beat, at Usayd, Koshul, at _Nick Whalen. I apologize, Nick. I did not mean to cut you off at the start when we were recording this, as you were talking to me about how this puppy's tearing up your house. But I guess you can go from one thing of madness to another thing of madness, talking about all the crazy stuff that's been Bears Twitter today.
Yeah, I mean, just full disclosure, it's not that bad, y'all. But me and my wife, we have 3 dogs. She's a veterinarian, so animals are very, very welcome in our house. But we are dog sitting. We've been dog sitting this puppy from I don't know, he's 4 months now. But we've been watching him for the past, I don't know, probably 5 weeks. So we've been basically raising a puppy. So yeah, he chews on a lot of stuff. So we're learning along the way. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff I think going on in Bears Twitter. Everything's new. Jadeveon Clowney got cut today. Will he sign with the Bears? We talk about that stuff. But dude, the Pope, one, being an American is a surprise. I didn't think that would happen. And two, being from Chicago is pretty cool, and then obviously all the jokes, after that are pretty funny. The one I like the most was how he's gonna during Lent, on Fridays, it's fish, and then it's gonna be deep dish pizza is allowed. You know what I mean? Just something in Chicago I thought was pretty funny.
Well, the other funny thing, I'm pretty sure, we're a non-denominational podcast, just a full disclosure. I'm sure you guys have figured out, but the memes are sort of what we're talking about. The one that I found to be so funny was the one where someone's like, yeah, his first act is going to be the exorcism of the Packers, was kind of hilarious. Someone also had mentioned something about how God is finally on the Bears' side simply because the Pope is from Chicago. Someone said that one of the offseason additions the Bears made was the Pope. I mean, the reality of it is that there's a lot to sort of discuss here. And to me, one of the very sort of interesting things is rookie minicamp starts tomorrow. It's Thursday, May 8th when we're recording this, and minicamp this year, for those of you guys that may not know, is Friday the 9th, Saturday the 10th, and then Sunday the 11th. So the Bears are basically telling their rookies, you aren't getting to hang out with mom on Mother's Day. So this is going to be interesting because it's the first time we've really got the entire rookie class sort of in Halas Hall together. It's obviously all shells is what it is. There's no sort of pads involved anyway. It's literally just helmet and shorts. But it's still, to me, and again, we'll have a presence there with Zach Pearson being up there for the next couple of days. It's still a good opportunity to kind of see these guys up close for the first time since they were drafted.
Yeah, and goals for me, number one is, nobody gets hurt. That's always my number one goal. And two, yeah, you just have to get used to your coaches a little bit, get on the field, get to know your teammates. Then also it's an opportunity for those undrafted free agents, those mini camp tryout guys to see if they can make the training camp roster, to try and see if they can make the main roster, because there's definitely guys that do that along the way. So yeah, there's definitely opportunities. I think one cool thing, man, I just saw was the numbers got released from the rookies, which is honestly, the Bears hid that longer than most teams. I'm not sure why. The most surprising one to me is Luther Burden III is number 87. And the only reason it's surprising is I was just thinking he was going to be a single digit or a teens number, because if you look at most of the other rostered receivers we have, DJ Moore is 2, Rome Odunze is 15, Tyler Scott is 10, Devin Duvernay is 12. Olamide Zaccheaus is 14. And then, the third strings and later, some of those are in the 80s. But I was like, okay, I guess he's going to buck the trend. He's going to be the big number. I would think the biggest guy, Rome Odunze, would be an 80s number. I just didn't picture it. I don't know if you had a number in your head, but I had a different number in mind.
I mean, I know a lot of the single digit numbers are taken, so if you're not, I don't think you can wear zero. Yeah, you can't wear zero in the league, I believe.
No, you can't. Zach Wilson, I think, is 0 now.
Okay, yeah. So see, I think there's one other play that I knew was 0.
And 1 is available.
Okay. Well, no, one's not available because I've got their team roster up. So
Well, I thought.
no, because Jalen Johnson's number 1 now.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes. This is the full disclosure here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the part of the show where you guys are going to have to realize that we are kind of out of touch with some of these jersey numbers because we've been so focused on everything else this offseason. Not to mention some of the stupid rumors on Bears Twitter about the Bears should trade away DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. That has been a whole bunch of fans' hysteria. We're not going to waste time talking about that. But circling back here to, I think, this rookie minicamp discussion, dude. And we're going to have a fun little jersey numbers thing later for you guys because we're going to kind of go back, I feel like, and say, all right, you look at 87, for example. Who's the first guy that comes to mind? And then maybe you guys can, hop in on Twitter and YouTube with us and tell us, hey, 87, 84, like who are the first guys that come to mind without Googling, obviously. So, rookie minicamp, dude. It's going to be fun this year because to me, the vets aren't there. It's literally just the Bears sort of rookies for the next 3 days, hence the name. I feel like what we're going to see is Ozzy Trapilo at left tackle. And this is where that foundation gets laid before everyone comes in for the 3 phases of OTA plus mandatory minicamp for this team to start experimenting with Ozzy Trapilo at left tackle.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely a change. I mean, he's huge, being 6'8", but I think it's the time for him to get some reps. And that's what this whole thing is about, is the more reps that you get and, the more comfortable you'll be, the better you'll perform. And I think part of that goes into this mindset that I have in terms of the Bears, y'all. Everything from what Antoine Randall to Ben Johnson to Dennis Allen, they're like, "Yep, we're here, ready to win right now." And I think that goes down to the rookies. Ozzy's a guy that they think can contribute right away. That's something that they said. This isn't like, well, we'll stash him, we'll develop him and see where he fits in. Like, nope, he's very pro ready. He's someone that we saw that is consistent and can help us right away. And I think that's just a shift, man. Like, I know we had to reset. And I know people laughed like, oh, the Bears are always offseason champions. Well, there was a long way to go with this roster when you stripped it down to the studs to rebuild it. But the Ben Johnson and all those guys came here to win right now. And that's not even it. Like, those guys have a history, right? Antoine Randall won a Super Bowl. Al Harris, I think, won one with Green Bay. Ben Johnson obviously was the NFC Championship game. But look at the other guys that they acquired. Joe Tooney, okay, Super Bowl champion multiple times, multiple teams. Jonah Jackson, don't forget about him, in the playoffs with Ben Johnson multiple times. He was there with the Rams last year. I know he was hurt, but he was there against Philly in the playoffs where they almost upset them. Don't forget about Devin Duvernay with Baltimore for 4 years. Zacchaeus last year was in the NFC Championship game. And then the defense too. Grady Jarrett was in the Super Bowl, right? The big 28-3 comeback against Tom Brady. He was on the other side of that, unfortunately. So the Bears are bringing in this different mindset because people are like, well, it's the same old Bears. And I see this too with the public. They'll be like, the Bears have to prove it, like it's the same Bears until they prove that they're not. These guys have already proven that they've won. They've won in the playoffs. They've won Super Bowls. They've gotten to Super Bowls. They've gotten to championship games. And so that is what you want to bleed down to your other players and then also your rookies. So like you're talking about this mini camp, when they have OTAs, these veterans be like, hey, no, this is what you have to do to get to the championship game. So I think when that is the consistent message and the players that you have surrounding your whole team, I think that's going to rise kind of all tides and it's going to help Chicago do well this year.
And you mentioned a lot of real prestigious vets. I mean, just a couple other vets I'm going to add on. TJ Edwards went to a Super Bowl with Philadelphia, one of the top organizations in the league. Tremaine Edmonds, and I understand some people looking back at it are going to be like, well, the Bills are never really successful. I don't think people realize how much change has gone on in Buffalo with Sean McDermott and Josh Allen in terms of even guys like Tremaine Edmonds just getting to the playoffs consistently. And then the last one, and certainly not the least, is Kevin Byard, who, when Mike Vrabel was kind of in the thick of his time with Tennessee was a pretty damn good team. I mean, they went to the AFC Championship game one year, and honestly, for a good portion of the game, had Kansas City on the ropes. I believe that was 2019. But the other part of this whole thing is that so many people tend to forget that the Bears have these players on the roster that are winners as well. Colston Loveland just won a national championship. I mean, it's been a year and a half, 2 years at this point, but he was at Michigan. They won the Natty. Rome Odunze was also playing in that game. Texas A&M for an SEC school does not get some of the respect I feel like it deserves, because it's not, your Alabama or your Georgia, but it's still a damn good program. Same thing with Mizzou, where Luther Burden, honestly, I understand Mizzou's not like the greatest SEC program. It's not one of the top college football programs out there, but Eli Drinkowitz with guys like Luther Burden has kind of built this thing into something significant. And the reason that I bring Luther Burden up is, first off, our guy Zach Pearson talked to a Mizzou beat writer, which you can find that episode on YouTube and in your podcast feeds. Lots of really good info about Luther Burden. I think that, to me, if you're Luther Burden, you're looking at this weekend ahead of minicamp and you're saying, all right, well, I acknowledge the fact that there's Rome Odunze and DJ Moore ahead of me, and that's completely okay. It doesn't necessarily mean I can't be a valuable contributor, but I'm going to use this minicamp to show that I can make the other two receivers expendable, and expendable not in the sense of, okay, well, if Luther Burden pops off, then it's time to trade DJ Moore or Rome Odunze. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying making them expendable in the sense of you're making the offensive play caller and the coaching staff think 3 to 4 times as hard about, hey, maybe we can get Luther Burden more involved than we originally thought.
Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up Luther Burden. I watched a few more things on him. One, if you watch any interview with him, he's not a good interviewer. He's an internal guy. He's not going to be a big talker. He's going to have really short answers. He just doesn't like to talk. And some people are like that. Some people are more reserved. But watching his draft process, there's a 12-minute video on YouTube, y'all, if you want to watch it, and it's kind of his family and everyone else during day one, and then day two, and he's got sunglasses on, and he's very stoic. But he cries multiple times. He cries on day one. He doesn't get picked, and he talked about that, right? He went to the field to work out. I think it was his girlfriend was throwing balls or running the jugs machine or whatever, and he was getting more work in. And then day two, we all saw the call, right? He got the call from Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, and it seems like, man, he's just mad, which I could understand being frustrated. And then Antoine Randall kind of got him a little bit looser. But later on, he loosened up. He was talking about it in that video, and then he was crying again. So, I think sometimes we have this perception of how people should react and how people need to be. Luther Burden's kind of his own dude. He's internal. He's, however people want to paint him, he's a good football player, man. I'm excited the more that I watch in terms of how he's going to help this team. And as you're talking about, we don't necessarily have to have him make DJ Moore expendable or whatever people are trying to do. We just need him to help Chicago win games. That's the whole purpose behind having all of these guys, having Loveland there, having, Ozzie at tackle to push. We're pushing to make competition and make everyone better. So I just thought it was a pretty insightful video. So if people have time, I thought it was pretty good.
Well, and to your point about making DJ Moore and Rome Odunze expendable, you mentioned it, is obviously my point too. There's this sort of perception with Luther, like you alluded to, that he's a bit of a diva. I don't necessarily think he's a diva. I mean, saw Luther in person a couple weeks ago when he was at Halas Hall, and I agree, for him it was frustrating because he's sitting there with his agent, and his agent is probably texting him, is at the family's draft party, and is saying, hey, there's a chance you go in the late first round, then that obviously didn't happen. And then just to see the way that the second round played out, like let's call it how it is. There were some of these teams that could have gone ahead and taken Luther, but it ultimately didn't happen because if you are a team such as
even man.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, sorry, maybe you're getting to that, but even in the second round, y'all, he wasn't even the first receiver taken on day 2. Jaden Higgins was taken by Houston before him. So like that's even adding to like his probably just being a frustrated guy. And then they pan to like when Ibuka got picked by Tampa Bay, they're like, oh, we thought we were going to go ahead of him. Like that stuff happens. And again, we're all people. I can't tell you, Usayd, if I was, a prospect and I was going to be this, as you're talking about last half of first round, first part of second round, and seeing other guys get picked in my position, I wouldn't get mad. I think that's natural, but I think people like, he's what, 21 years old? Like, I think we need to give a guy a little bit of a break that it's okay to be frustrated.
And just talking about the frustration, I mean, I will say this, Luther's not necessarily a diva from what I've seen so far and everything I've heard. Again, if you listen to our Spotlight podcast that Zach Pearson did with someone from Power Mizzou, which is the 247 Sports Mizzou website, you guys are going to get some really damn good insight into the fact that, to Nick's point, Luther isn't the greatest interviewer, but Luther is just so motivated and is ready to go ahead and win. And that's the part of human nature that I believe kind of rubs people the wrong way, is that sometimes you are going to have people that are more stoic. They're just focused on whatever the job is because they're really sort of ready to go ahead and work hard and just do whatever is needed to make their goals come true. And this is like Luther Burden's ultimate dream right here. So is it weird? Yeah, that he gets sort of, crapped upon, let's say, sure, by people. And again, those are going to be concerns that pop up because it's like the same stuff popped up with DJ Moore, but let's be honest, like DJ Moore was just all about being a winner. That's literally what it was. And again, I think that as a receiver, you have to feel some sympathy for these guys. And it's because Mizzou's quarterback situation was not great last year. It was awful. You look at Colson Loveland's quarterback situation. I'm not going to say it was awful with J.J. McCarthy, but it's Michigan. I mean, you go to Michigan, you have to learn how to block. Let's just leave it at that because they're running the ball there like crazy. Then you get a guy like Luther Burden. All right, okay quarterback play, but DJ Moore, too, was real damn frustrated with the state of things. And so it's like, as a receiver, you're getting paid because you can catch the ball and you can make plays and you can help the team and the offense get better. If that's not happening, you know that every moment and every rep that you're losing counts against you, but you also have an understanding of the fact that like you can make plays when it counts. And so the ultimate reality of all of this thing is the fact that minicamp is going to be really good for Luther Burden. But I'm also really interested, and I want to hear what you have to say too. I mean, Zay Frazier is another rookie that I'm keeping an eye on ahead of this weekend to see what he can do specifically. Because if I'm Al Harris, I'm salivating over the chance to get to work with Zay Frazier and Zay only this weekend.
No, and that's a good point. I mean, because you think of these rookies and free agents that have been signed, those are handpicked by this staff, y'all. They're inheriting, Stevenson and Terrell Smith. Maybe he really likes Zay Frazier. He's like, you know what? I want this guy. I'm going to coach him up right away, and he's going to push for that starting job. Or I know people, call him the worst pick in the draft. Maybe they like Ruben Hippolyte, and they see him as the next Sam to help out this year before maybe transitioning to Mike. And maybe they're going to get reps in there. Same thing with Ozzie. You can go through the list. So it's going to be interesting to see where they're playing them. Sam linebacker spot, it's a strong side linebacker, y'all. That's another spot. I'm really interested to see who wins that job. Is it, does Noah Sewell get that job? Angbak Biamila, does he get that job? Like how do they, who's going to fill that spot? Because it's open right now. Is it someone they're going to sign as a vet? But I think they want to see what they have. See what they have in running back before they sign a vet. See what they have with some of these other rookies before they make those moves. So, yeah, Ruben Hippolyte, I think, has a shot to get, maybe 20% of the snaps is the Sam's there and Kyle Gordon isn't out there, but he could play as a rookie.
Well, and you brought up a really good point that I believe extends to the third and fourth stringers on this roster as well, and it's the fact that we know the Bears have Drew Dalman at center. We know that they are going into this thing saying, "Hey, we have Drew Dalman. We feel really good about it." Drew Dalman's great. My question is this: the Bears have not had, to me, a legitimate presence at center, and Cody Whitehair was good, but I believe Drew Dalman can be better. The Bears have not had that legitimate backup presence at center since, I want to say, the Oil and Crude days. Now, this isn't me criticizing Oil, and I'm just saying you had Oil and you had Patrick Manley. I understand Manley was a long snapper, but they were still really good. I mean, my God, what I would do to get that O-line of that interior of
Ruben Brown.
Yeah, Ruben Brown, Crude, Scars up back. But, I mean, those are some nostalgic. That's
Fred Miller. I'm trying to think of who left tackle was.
Well, they never had a franchise left tackle.
Was it John Tate? I'm sure people are thinking right now. They're trying to
I think it was John Tate during that 06 team.
Yeah.
So, so here's the deal, dude. To me, when you go and you draft Luke Newman, that is a big storyline for me. Because Luke, first off, is coming into this thing. And I fully believe that the Bears are looking at Mini Fridge, a.k.a. Doug Kramer, and they are saying, all right, well, the first 2 years of your career, you didn't really have an impact because you were never healthy. So you got that working against you. Last year, we put you at fullback. Not we, but the Bears put you at fullback. It was really something that didn't work out. You're going into
blocking it worked.
Well, blocking it worked, but that calling the Washington.
I know. I can't fault the guy that when you're an old lineman, how often do you touch the ball?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I can't say that they were coached up ball, but remember that was how they started converting some short yardage stuff with Roschon. They finally put Kramer in, and he would wham block or kick out or whatever and lead.
Run ISO.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying. Then another part of this too is money. Like Doug Kramer's in the last year of his deal, he makes the most amount of money. He's more expensive than Luke Newman. You start cutting corners, y'all, and think about what's cheaper. It'd be cheaper to keep this young rookie. It
would. So Luke Newman kind of becomes this player that isn't necessarily the freakiest athlete, but is a very interesting player simply because of the measurables. And so I kind of wonder, are the Bears going into this thing saying, well, Luke, we're going to train you to play all three positions, whether or not you like it. You're going to get snaps at center, but you're also getting snaps at both the guard spots. And the reason being is because at this point, the nice part about minicamp is you're just trying to figure out where these guys fit. This is really the initial sort of, hey, we know you fit. In terms of being a player as well as a person, you're a fit for what we're doing in this building. But now we want to get you out there. We want to give you some of our stuff that we've installed, some of the stuff you're going to be running, some of what we're going to be doing from a coach's perspective. And let's go ahead and let's start to sort of look at all of this. So I think that ultimately is why, to me, Luke Newman is such a fascinating player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's similar in terms of measurables as you talked about with Olin Cruz. Very similar because Olin didn't have super long arms, but very athletic and helped out. He obviously had a big attitude too, which was kind of nice. So in terms, a good attitude. Sorry, in terms of getting sticking for his quarterback, sticking for his teammates, that kind of stuff, being a leader. Last thing I think that we should do for this podcast, man, is just kind of talk about where the Bears are in regards to the rest of this division, because now all the additions are there. And in my opinion, I think that the Bears are the NFC North is the most difficult division. AFC North is up there, but I think they're just below there because you got Cleveland, who's really dragging it down. Pittsburgh doesn't have a quarterback currently. And then the NFC is probably the other one. Now we play both of those divisions, so we have a lot of good matchups. But I kind of want to start this off. I think this is an interesting question, and I'm curious where you're at with this. If you had to rank all four NFC North teams, which NFC North head coach, or coaching staff would be number one number 2, number 3, and number 4. Because things have changed. You know what I mean?
They certainly have. Now I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I love Kevin O'Connell. First off, I have a tremendous amount of respect for all these head coaches. I do think that the guy that has underachieved the most year after year is the longest tenured coach in the division, and that is Matt LaFleur. And this is not me saying, oh, well, this is a Bears podcast, so blah, blah, blah. Like, Matt LaFleur has been good. This is just me speaking with objectivity. Matt's been good, but for a guy that's been there since 2019, he's had a future Hall of Fame quarterback for 3 to 4 years. They now transition to Jordan Love. Jordan's the type of quarterback that's obviously keeping this team in games, but is not necessarily significantly upgrading the offense. Maybe that changes with the addition of Matt Golden this year. They finally took a first-round receiver for the first time in 20-something years. I like the D coordinator there, Jeff Hafley, but I fully believe that the reason that Green Bay's defense is not as good as people think it is because they got a really good interior, but they don't have that one stud pass rusher. Like Lucas Van Ness has not, to me, developed into the first-round talent that so many people thought, which huge shout out to the Packers fan who said that the Packers are going to trade Van Ness in like a 2026 first for TJ Watt. That was along with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So I know you're up in Wisconsin, so maybe I'll let you speak to that. But to me, the worst guy is Matt LaFleur. Okay. Again, underachieve, even having a sort of easy path to the Super Bowl year in and year out. Number 3, I would put, people are probably going to hate me for this, but to me, numbers 1 and 2, I've got Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell. And the reason being is because the way that Dan Campbell has kind of come in and revitalized Detroit, it's hard to kind of say, like, look at where this team was with Jim Caldwell and Jim Schwartz. Look at where they were with Matt Patricia. Then you strike gold with Dan Campbell, and you kind of go ahead. And to me, what you basically did was this, is you said, all right, well, we have a process. We're going to stick with it. We know it's going to take some time. Well, they were in the NFC Championship game a little over a year ago. And I understand, this year's first-round playoff exit, or I should say last year's first-round playoff exit or second-round exit to Washington. Some people are going to hold it against them. But, again, we'll talk Washington when we compare Caleb Williams to Jaden Daniels in a later episode. Number 2 is Kevin O'Connell. I think that there is a lot here to understand that Kevin O'Connell has done a significant amount of work despite sort of having a revolving door at the quarterback position. Because when JJ McCarthy starts, he's going to have three different starters in 3 different seasons. And then number 3 is Ben Johnson. This isn't me depreciating Ben Johnson, but I'm really curious to see what Ben Johnson, the head coach, does. Because I know what Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, can do. I now want to see what Ben Johnson, the head coach, can do. Which, little bit of news here as you guys are listening to this. So Colston Loveland just signed his rookie deal with the Bears. It's a 4-year deal worth $26.64 million and a $16 million signing bonus.
Nice. Look at that, man. Breaking news. I don't think those are that big of a deal because they're pretty locked in. Is just make sure they get signed ahead of time. In terms of, again, just head coaches, because again, staffs is going to be tough. I really struggle because I really like Dan Campbell, the person, in terms of how he is. He's a true football guy, but Dan Campbell, before Ben Johnson called plays, they weren't sure if he was going to keep his job, and then. And people forget, like, Ben Johnson started helping call plays the year the last half of the year before he became OC, and he loses him and Aaron Glenn. So it's going to be interesting to see what Detroit happens there. I feel like you're right in terms of the Matt LaFleur and Kevin O'Connell stuff. I feel like Kevin O'Connell has overachieved in Minnesota, which I think that's a lot of good coaching. Matt LaFleur, I think, is still a very good coach. They did well last year without Jordan Love when he was out. They band-aided together an offense for Malik Willis, and they got some wins, so that was impressive. But you go back and you look at like the NFC Championship game when they were at home and they kicked that field goal instead of going for it in 4th down against Tampa, and then they didn't get the ball back and they ended up losing the game. And again, I think it's kind of a tale of Green Bay where They make the playoffs, but not a lot happens. People get really hyped about them beating Dallas 2 years ago. But people don't know that Dallas was a bottom 4 defense after Thanksgiving that year. And they, Stephon Gilmore had one of his worst games of his career, but he was playing with a separated shoulder. He separated that in week 17, and he probably shouldn't have been playing, but he was out there and he had a horrible game. So, like, you go through that context, and then you look at what Dallas was last year, even at the beginning of the year, getting blown out by the Saints. You're like, oh, maybe they weren't very good. So you should add that context in. I think Green Bay is just a slightly better version, I feel like, than Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Like, they might win a wild card game or divisional game here or there, but they're not really making serious runs. And, as you talked about, like, LaFleur's been there a while, and he was just getting embarrassed by San Francisco in all those playoff games. And if you were a great coach, I feel like you would, one, get a better D coordinator earlier, but also you would have some answers in some of those. And I still think he's a good coach. And interestingly, I was looking over here. I was like, what coaches are better than the 4 in the NFC North? Because Ben Johnson has the part where it's like, he's not proven yet, Like, I would think, like, all 4 of them are in the top 10. You got to put Andy Reid in there. You got to put John Harbaugh in there. You got to put McVay in there. Sean Payton, maybe. I'm trying to think of, like, a guy. Is there anyone else you would for sure put in that group? Like, Sean McDermott, I think, is good coach. I'm not sure that he's for sure above the 4 in the NFC North. I don't know where you're at with Nick Sirianni, though.
Yeah, I think Sirianni's a good coach to me. And some other little news here, because the Bears haven't officially announced these signings. When they officially announce the signings from the Twitter account is when it's official. But so we just said a moment ago, Loveland signed his deal. Ruben Hippolyte signed his deal. So did Zay Frazier, Luke Newman, and Kyle Monangai, which leaves Trapilo plus Luther Burden as being the only 2 that have not signed their deal.
Did Turner sign?
No, Turner didn't sign yet. So
the second round picks.
Yeah, the 3 second rounders, which I'm guessing there's some kind of hold up there with the language. But again, we'll have more info on that stuff when they officially sign. But see, here's the thing. Like, Nick Sirianni takes the Eagles to the Super Bowl in his second or third season, right? They lose to the Chiefs. 2023 is a down year, and they bounce back in 2024. I believe that part of the reason that they had such a down year in 2023 and the reason that the media was kind of calling for his head was because things were just not very good that year. You're going to have a team that goes on a run and then ends up getting flat the second season, but then they went ahead and they retooled and everything. Okay. Sean McDermott, to me, for how much the Bills have been losing, like, Sean McDermott, I think, would be an elite coach if he was able to go ahead and to get this team past Kansas City. Okay. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm still in the camp of the fact that Josh Allen had that first down in that playoff game at Arrowhead. But ultimately, the refs, just sort of screwed the Bills over with that one, okay? That is something that I fully believe. The second big thing I think is that you look in the NFC and just looking at Ben Johnson alone, there is a very real chance, I think, that Ben Johnson, we're talking about him as a top 10 head coach. And I think a lot of that, in the NFC at least, I think a lot of that is because the Bears have assembled a pretty damn good roster. And it's one that I look at and I say, it's hard to find a roster, at least in the immediate division, that is more high upside than what the Bears are. Because there's an argument to be made that if Caleb Williams hits, the Bears have the most talented quarterback in the division. There's also, I think, a legitimate argument to be made that there's a very real chance that the Bears have the best receiving group in the division and the best set of playmakers as well to be able to kind of help Caleb Williams take that next step forward. Now, what I will say is that the 4 teams in the NFC North, I don't believe that any of their running back rooms are world beaters per se. So I would say that, Detroit has a damn good running back room. You're right. Now,
like Monty, y'all, I'm not a huge Monty fan. I think he's pretty mid and average, whatever you want to say. But Gibbs is top 3.
Yeah, Gibbs is really good. So I think, I'm factoring in the fact that these guys are all a year older. And so you don't really know how some of them are going to respond this year, especially a guy like Monty, who's got so much wear and tear on his body.
Well,
but I will say,
but also you have, but also you have to add in is the next offensive coordinator going to utilize them like Ben Johnson?
Exactly.
Did, right?
Yes. And so that is part of where I'm going with this, where it's like with running backs, you don't really know how these guys are going to be used. I mean, for all we know, DeAndre Swift could be the revelation that this team has been waiting for, and the best running back since a Jordan Howard, Matt Forte type thing. But the big thing to me, I think, is that running back room, I would say the Bears have the weakest running back room in the division, because you don't really know what you're going to get out of DeAndre Swift, because we've seen 1,000-yard DeAndre Swift. We've also seen like 400-yard DeAndre Swift in the league at different points in time. And so it kind of becomes something where this team does have work to do. And then the biggest thing to me is if I were to look at the Bears' O-line, on paper, the Bears have a damn good offensive line. I get the Packers just paid Aaron Banks a ton of money. Last point I'm going to make here is this, though, is that in terms of just cohesion and chemistry, the Bears' O-line is not there yet. So it's hard to go ahead and say, all right, this is going to be an offensive line that comes out and lights it up week one. I do believe that the good teams, they usually take time, especially with the offensive line, to really gel, and for all five of those guys to sort of come together. I mean, part of it is also that the reason I'm lowering my ranking on the Bears O-line is not because of the interior or darn all right. Part of it is because you don't know who's going to start at left tackle, because it's not a this or that, right? It's not an Ozzie Trapilo or a Braxton Jones. So it's not you get this or you get that. It's you can have this, but then you're giving up this, but then you're also giving up this. So you have the 3-year starter, but if you start the guy that's been with you for 3 years, then the guy that's the really damn good athlete and has pretty long arms, that has a lot of untapped potential in Karan Amagaji, you're not giving him a fair start. Oh, but wait, you've also got this 6'8" mammoth on your roster that has pretty decent arms and can move and is a pretty damn good athlete that also can catch passes, by the way, because he played tight end in high school. You could start him too. So there's no right answer to that.
the mammoth, what if that's his nickname? That'd be a kind of a fun one there. We'll give you credit for that one. Kind of going through, you're kind of going offense with the NFC North. I don't really know what to expect from Jared Goff without Ben Johnson. I feel like it's going to be, I'm just considering Detroit's going to be another tier down. I don't know how far they're going to fall down, but it's going to be something. I mean, they're also losing, a few players on that team, but I think losing the coaches is big. But in terms of quarterbacking, I think I would still put it Jared Goff, Jordan Love, Caleb, and then JJ McCarthy. And I know there's people that, like Thor, who's one of my friends, we'll have him on a future episode to talk about the Vikings. He loves JJ McCarthy, but he's unproven. So, I mean, really, that first year as a rookie, we know, yes, Jane Daniels had a year, CJ Stroud had a year, CJ Stroud just fell back down to earth. And so it's tough, I think, for those young guys to really do well right away. But JJ McCarthy, I mean, essentially not playing. He didn't play and throw a ton at Michigan, and then taking a whole year off basically with an injury. That's going to be tough, I think, for him to start off right away. So that's kind of, I would have that one. I agree with you on running back. I think you could argue Minnesota is right up there with Chicago, or the bottom of the division. Aaron Jones is 30, 31. I don't know what to expect there in terms of a running back. I think the Bears have the best wide receiver group, but Minnesota's up there, right? Because you still have Justin Jefferson, who's awesome. I really like Jordan Addison too. Tight ends, you could argue who has the better one between us and Minnesota. And O-line, here's something interesting. So I'm going to be referencing Mike Clay. Mike Clay does unit rankings throughout the entire, every quarterback, and then he measures and grades it against every other quarterback in the NFL. So in terms of units, so the Bears are a 5 out of 10, and then like Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, and Cincy are 10 out of 10. He has Chicago and Minnesota both at a 9 at offensive line, which is what you were talking about. There's only 110, and that's the Eagles. He has Detroit at an 8, and then he has Green Bay at a 7. And I do think gelling is a part of it. But I think one thing that's going to help out Chicago is Drew Dahlman is a veteran. Joe Tooney's a veteran who switched teams and did well right away. Same with Jonah Jackson, and Darnell Wright's been here for a while. So I think part of that helps. You're not just like bringing in a bunch of rookies. You're bringing in guys that have been successful in the NFL, and some very successful. I think that will help right away. And it's tough to figure out what Chicago's going to be early on. And I think the part that people are missing a bunch of, and we mentioned this before, is we have no idea what it's like having a great coach. We don't. Now, again, I don't know if he's going to be an elite head coach. He's a great OC. And I would say he's probably a top 10 head coach, probably right now. And so we don't know what to do with that. Like, he should develop Caleb easier than we did in last offense. Should get all of these new pieces and make them work, which is part of what this minicamp is, or this rookie minicamp is. So, like, having the offensive line gel early on, I think is going to be more tailored to how good the coaches are bringing these guys along than I think just their overall talent. Because I think that this is a talented team, but bringing it together is important. I'm trusting Ben Johnson with that.
You named the 4 quarterbacks, which got me thinking. By the way, we'll have the defensive NFC North roster defensive rankings in another episode because we're going to get to it in this episode. But you mentioned the 4 quarterbacks, and it brings up a very interesting point to me. So I'm curious to know your take on this. If everything hits, which there's nothing but optimism in Bears land right now, is there a legitimate argument that Caleb Williams by season's end is the best quarterback in the NFC North? Do you foresee yourself?
Oh, go ahead. I thought you wanted me to answer that.
Well, I do, but I'm just thinking, like,
good.
Do you foresee a situation happening where for the first time in our lifetime, the Bears have the best quarterback in the division? Because to me, with this division, how tough it is, there's a chance that the Lions are a year older. It's essentially J.J. McCarthy's rookie year. Jordan Love is what Jordan Love is at this point. I'm convinced you could put world beaters for weapons around him, and he would still be the same Jordan Love. So is there a chance that do you think Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the NFC North by season's end? I do believe that, yes, there is, but everything has to fall in place sooner rather than later for the Bears for that to legitimately happen.
I think it's a very likely scenario. And I know that we're a Bears podcast and I'm a Bears fan talking about that, but you're talking about, again, y'all, the number 1 pick, the Heisman Trophy winner with tons of talent. Jared Goff, number 1 pick. I get that. Different levels of talent with that, right? Same thing with Bryce Young, different level of talent. And then you talk about Ben Johnson. There's different levels of the best head coaching candidate in each cycle. He's been the best one for multiple cycles. People have wanted him. You pair that together with all of these weapons, and now there's really good O-line. And again, it's year 2, so he's not a rookie. He's already experienced it. He's overcome some adversity. And I know we talk about the last game of the season a lot and how he came back. I want you guys to think about this, okay? Caleb got beat up as a rookie, okay? He didn't break, got beat up. What happens to young rookies when they get hit a lot? They get gun shy. They take more sacks. They throw the ball really quickly and make bad decisions. At the end of the season, after end of this long season, in a game that doesn't matter, he leads the comeback to beat the rival there. To me, that says a lot about him. He's not giving up. That's not who he is. So I think if you're talking about like at the end of this season, could he rise up to that level and being the best quarterback in the North? I do think that. And here's another reason why. The Bears, I think, have the best secondary in the NFC North. The Vikings corners are bad. Who knows what's going on in Green Bay with Jair and whoever else they're trying to play at corner. I like McKinney. I think he's not bad. Other safeties are young. We'll see what happens there. Detroit, I like Branch. The other guys are younger. The other safety got a lot of picks last year, but I think he's a little inconsistent. Like, none of them scare me. So you talk about like the Bears have these really good wide receiver core and tight end group going against those secondaries. I think you're going to see some success. So versus I think other teams playing the Bears secondary. So to me, I think all those things align with, if you're saying if he could be the best quarterback, I think it is likely.
And to me, part of him being the best quarterback is just for comparison here. So Jared Goff is 6'4". Got it. He's bigger, so he's your sort of typical pocket passer quarterback. Okay. Jared, first off, even dating back to the time when he was at Cal, never really known as a guy that was going to be overly mobile. That's why with the Rams, he was a pocket passer. Ben Johnson, he was a pocket passer. The big thing with Caleb is Caleb's only 6'1", but the advantage you have with a smaller quarterback is it becomes easier to move the pocket, and easier to move the pocket in the sense of your rollouts in terms of the play action stuff becomes easier. You know, NFL teams really don't use the sprint out game just because of how fast the defenses are. But sprint out is a concept that's sort of a variation of some play action. The only difference is instead of faking it to the running back is now just leaving and sealing the edge as the quarterback is rolling out. The other issue with sprint out is that, you know, play action a lot of times is the play fake plus a half field read. When it comes to sprint outs, the problem with a sprint out is that since there's no play fake, you're not necessarily freezing the defense. And then you're going from being a 3-read, which is usually your play actions, to being a 2-read progression. And so Caleb can move the pocket if needed. Now, the other part of this whole thing to me is also this, is that the personnel that the Bears are going to run, and I promise, we're going to have a massive episode on breaking down Ben Johnson's film at some point in June and the Bears offense in June, what to expect. I do believe that the personnel the Bears have in terms of your 2 versatile tight ends, they can play H-back, Colston Loveland, or Cole Kmet. They can also play you or the Y if needed. Those are your guys right there that are going to make all the difference in the world for how defenses have to play and prepare for Caleb Williams and then try to go mismatch with the offense.
I mean, I'm excited because you look at last year, the issue was the Bears couldn't protect Caleb. So then they had to throw really short passes. Defenses knew that. And there's no threat vertical. Like it was terrible, right? Caleb's running around and they can't really have a whole offense because it's like we can't even protect this guy for more than a second before he gets sacked. So, but now if you can protect inside and you have veterans that, hey, we know this game's coming. We know this blitz is coming. And you have the weapons. Like, I'm almost like, cool, Minnesota, I dare you to bring everybody again. Watch Luther Burden get behind you. Watch Rome after a year of development running better routes. Watch DJ with the ball in his hands. We know how that goes. Colston Loveland, Cole Kmet. Like, so you're like, really? You're not going to match up with those guys. Now with 48-year-old Harrison Smith. You know what I mean? So, like, good luck. Last thing we got to cover, man, is these rookie numbers. Okay? So, you mentioned 87, right? Being Luther Burden. I do have to say this though. I'm as we're talking, you know, we're always looking for breaking news. Brad Biggs says the numbers for rookie minicamp are not official. They are subject to change. So before people run out there and they're buying their Luther Burden 87 jersey, it could change. So why don't you just wait a little bit, you know, and see if that is going to be official. But there's one Bear that comes to mind for me a bunch with 87. Who's your 87 you're thinking of?
Adam Shaheen. No, I'm joking. Listen, so my 87 is going to be Muhsin Muhammad, which his son just signed with the Panthers, by the way, as a UDFA.
Yep. Doesn't that make you feel old?
Not really, no. Okay. There's this whole, I guess, adage of like, oh my God, I'm old, blah, blah, blah. And then to me, the entire time, I'm just like, listen, people, age is but a number. You could be old in age, but be young at heart. So
there we go.
That's the little sort of philosophical side of me coming out. Okay. But so 87, I think, is Adam Shaheen, obviously the GOAT. I also think it is.
Well, was he supposed to be like the next Gronk? They were saying,
because he's at Ashland and you go to Chipotle like every day after practice and get like 3 burritos to bulk up. But yeah, so Adam Shaheen's the first guy that comes to mind. Then Rashid Davis is another one that comes to mind, as well as Muhsin Muhammad.
Was Rashid Davis 81 or 87?
Pretty sure he was 87. I mean,
all right, you look it up. So I've got a couple. Okay. So one I'm going to say is, again, like a lower level guy. Dwayne Bates was 87, you know, Northwestern zone, Dwayne Bates.
So you were right real quick. Rashid Davis was 81. I think it was Kellen Davis that was 87.
Oh, Kellen Davis. Yeah. Tied up.
Yeah, so it was one of the Davis.
Now,
one of
my
the
favorite
Davis.
87 of all time, and this is not because they are in the Chicagoland area broadcasting, is Tommy Waddle. And little fact, y'all, I don't have many Bears jerseys. I don't. My dad got me an A Train jersey, right? Anthony Thomas, 35. I got an Urlacher jersey, and I got 87. I got a Tom Waddle jersey. So it didn't say Waddle on the back, but I definitely got a bunch of autographs. So Tommy Waddle's who I think of for 87. Do you want to break the next number?
Absolutely. And I want to say in my lifetime, I had a Urlacher or Cutler. And then a couple of years ago on Fanatics, I got a very good deal. So I got Khalil Max, Akeem Hicks, and Roquan Smith. This was when they were kind of in that thick of that, like, Vic Fangio defense. Those are obviously, the three recent ones are just sitting in my closet. Haven't really done anything with them. And I'm like, since these are the first jerseys that I kind of brought as a fully grown adult, I'm going to kind of hold on to these. As lame as that sounds, we'll, when I get a proper podcasting studio and all that, we'll have to put all that stuff up somewhere. You know who's got the best jersey collection, though? Our guy, Steven. The phenomenal jersey collection,
really?
By the way. Well, yeah, remember?
That's right. His background. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. The next one is Ozzy Trapilo at 75. Okay. The name that comes to me here, I believe Jimbo Covert was 75, I think.
74.
74. Okay. So Kyle Long then is the name that comes to mind here. I mean, thank goodness no one got 76 because 76 was Mongo's number, right? I mean, I'll be honest, I suck at some of these jersey numbers.
Yeah. 76 is Mongo, but I mean, Tevin Jenkins. So yeah, Kyle Long's the main one I think of for 75. I also think of, wasn't that Tonga? Wasn't he 75? Or they had some D tackle who was 75 recently.
Well, that was DeMarcus Walker, obviously.
No, he was 95.
Yeah, DeMarcus Walker was 95.
No. I'm thinking Tonga. That's what I said.
No,
there was some D tackle they had who was 75. I can't remember. We'll think of it. But so going into the Walker, 95 is going to be Shamar Turner's number. I think that's a good number for D tackle if he's going to go to DN. I think 95 is a good number for him. Any 95s that you have besides Walker in mind?
I mean, Kyra Songa was 95, so...
Oh, that's... Okay. All right, I was wrong. Okay.
Yeah, Tonga was 95. And again, by the way, if you guys are listening to this right now, hit us up on YouTube and tell us who you think. 65, obviously, dude, Cody Whitehair comes to mind.
You got to see who that is, though.
That is... Yeah, who is 65? It is Luke Newman, and then... Number 47, this is where the Bears have never, at least in my lifetime, had a prestigious player that is number 47, but maybe Ruben Hippolyte can kind of do that. I mean, 47 was Chris Conte, who I think Chris Conte should be a forbidden word on the street of Chicago. So, yeah, dude.
It's like Bartman. So, yeah, so Luke Newman's 65, Ruben Hippolyte's 47. And Zay Frazier's 20, and I busted out an oldie on Usayd because we talked about this before we aired. I go back to the days of James Allen, which I'm sure that some guys will remember. James Allen, 1994, 1995, maybe a little bit later, maybe late 90s. He would always run Usayd. He would get past the first level. He would have a second level linebacker, and he would always do a spin move. But the best moment James Allen's career was so it was early 2000s, late 90s. Sorry, y'all. Was the Mike Brown back-to-back interception games for touchdowns. Okay. Little do people know, the Bears came back. Shane Matthews throws a touchdown with, less than a minute to go. The Bears do the onside kick against Cleveland. They get it. They throw the Hail Mary. And James Allen is the guy trailing the Hail Mary. And Marty Booker dives, and James Allen catches it on top of Booker and rolls. And Marty Booker actually got hurt a little bit. But James Allen's the number 20 that I think of right away.
Hey, that is definitely an awesome one. Last rookie jersey number here. So we've got 25, which is Kyle Manungai. Okay. So for some reason, 25, I feel like is also one of those that I'm just like, it definitely seems like the Bears, at least recently, have never had a good like 25, right? Like 29, I know was Tariq Cohen. 24 was Jordan Howard. Khalil Bell from way back in the day was 32, I think. But for the most part, like these guys that are 25 never really had a good number 25. And I mean, the Bears had Michael Bush and Chester Taylor, but those guys I think were like number 20. Both of them I think were number 29.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back to an old one that I thought of just now. Actually, I just double checked to make sure I was right. Tom Carter was a free agent signing the Bears made at corner, and he was 25. And then we buried the lead man. We didn't talk about it. Colston Loveland, y'all, 84.
Well, that's his Michigan number 2, right? 84. So I'm guessing, yeah. Sorry for some reason. I mean, I could totally see him wearing number 18 or number 84 at Michigan as well. So yeah, like I said, people, I think through this exercise we learned that I suck remembering some of these guys' jersey numbers. There's times where I'm just like, where the hell is number 33? Because I think of Jalen Johnson. 85 is for some reason the one that I can never seem to get, nor is number 2, which is DJ Moore. But the rest of them are kind of... The tough part about the Bears right now is that because there's been so much roster turnover over the last couple of years, that these guys are cycling through jersey numbers left and right. Whereas like just 6 or 7 years ago, it was to a point where you knew 58, you knew 52, you knew 96, you knew 91, you knew number 1 and number 10 and number 12 and number 11. And now it's just like, all right, time to get used to it all over again. Mm-hmm. That's life in the league as a reporter/podcaster.
Yep. And before we get out of here, guys, couple things. One is end of the month, we're going to have a episode where we do Q&A. We're already getting good questions on the bottom of some of our YouTube videos. So you guys can continually do that, or you can just message Usayd or myself with some questions. So we want to make sure we have those covered, but make sure you tune in for that one. And hopefully we're going to go live for that episode. That way you guys can interact with us as well.
And if you want to, if you don't post on YouTube or watch us on YouTube because you're listening to the audio version, make sure that you're going to bearreport.com and you're going to the Halas Hotel board. I put a post up there. It's pretty simple. Just create an account, join the community for free if you would like to, or a paid subscription. There's going to be a lot of insider tidbits and all that Zach and I usually love to post on there. Nick is on the boards frequently as well. Another smaller space for you guys to go ahead and interact with us, because if you leave good stuff on there, we're always going to go ahead and get back to you. Before we get out of here, though, make sure that you are following us on Twitter at HouseBeat, @ Nick Whalen, and at Usayd Koshul. If you listen to us via audio, I mean, give us a 5-star rating and review on whatever podcast platform you use. If you're on YouTube, we'd appreciate a subscription to the channel. So hit that subscribe button. Be sure to go ahead and like the video as well. Leave a thumbs up. Give us a positive comment as well that we can kind of go back to, because we're going to start doing shout outs. Enjoy Friday, enjoy your weekend. We'll have tons of coverage ahead of rookie minicamp on the website. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, bear down and have a great rest of your week.